Okay, hello and welcome everyone. I'm going to get going as we still have folks, I think, logging on here. So you probably know by now, but my name is Deanna Gerber and I'm the coordinator of recruitment here at the College of Veterinary Medicine. So welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. We'll have a student panel and we'll let them introduce themselves in just a little bit. I did want to give some housekeeping. One, you probably know already, but your offers were posted to your status page on your supplemental application portal last night. So if you haven't checked that, it might be a good time to check that now. We will be using for this webinar, we'll be using the Q&A box. So down at the bottom of your Zoom tool, or screen toolbar, there's a Q&A box. So go ahead and put any questions that you want to in there. You are able to ask questions either using your name or anonymously. Either is perfectly fine. You can also hit a thumbs up button if you have a question or if someone has asked a question that you really want to know the answer to as well. We're going to kind of prioritize those that have a lot of, thumbs up thumbs ups first, I guess is the best way to say that. So if you want to type in questions, you're welcome to do that and then upvote the ones that you are interested in as well. So you can go ahead and start putting those questions in the Q&A box. If you missed, this is the third in our webinar series. So we have a webinar series that we do, and we did a faculty panel, a financial aid session, and now we have our student panel. The faculty panel and the financial aid session are up on YouTube if you missed those. So I put that link in the chat box there. The chat box, please use if you need somebody to slow down or you can't hear somebody or whatever, but the Q&A box is where we're going to pull all of those questions from. So please utilize that as much as you can. So I think I'm done rambling now. So I'm going to have you all introduce yourself. I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves and let us know, name, where you're from, all of that kind of good stuff. And then we'll jump right into questions. So let's see, let's go with Maya, Jess, and then Miranda and Hannah, whoever wants to go first in that room. But Maya, do you want to take it away?
Sure. My name is Maya. I'm a current third year here at Iowa State. I am initially from Los Angeles, California. I have an interest in small animal surgery, and I chose Iowa State because I did my master's here, the one-year biomedical science program, and I fell in love with Ames, fell in love with the school, and couldn't see myself anywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you. Jess, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My name's Jess Legrand. I'm a current fourth year, almost done. Woo! And I am originally from Pennsylvania, but I've been living in the DC area for the past almost 10 years before going back to school. My story is a little bit unconventional. I didn't start at Iowa State. I started at Ross, and I chose, I did Ross just because of like my age and things like that, and it was accelerated. And then I decided that because I love lab animal, doing lab animal on a sterile island that does not have rodents isn't feasible. So I decided to look into transferring. I applied to both here in Colorado, and I got into both. And the reason I chose Iowa State was because, and I'm not knocking Colorado, it's a beautiful school, but Iowa State was more willing to work with my schedule. So even if I had stayed at Ross, I'm graduating with the same classmates. They're only 4 months ahead of me. So I wasn't losing any time. It was a lot cheaper. Colorado State was a little bit more expensive, and so was Ross. So yeah, even transferring, Iowa State was more cheaper for me to be out of state. And so they have a really good lab animal program here. So I was able to get involved with the labs here upon arrival. And so those are some of the reasons that I chose Iowa State. Again, had no inclination, like original inclination of even coming here. My roommate at Ross actually applied to the same school, so I just followed in her footsteps, and then I kind of did the research later. So I know that sounds really bad, but it's true. So that's my story.
Wonderful. Thank you. Miranda, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So my name is Miranda Painter. I'm originally from South Dakota. I'm currently a VM2. My interests are large animal, but focusing on poultry production. And I chose Iowa State because it's got a well-known poultry department, and it gives me the best options to further my career here. It's also the cheapest option for me.
Great. Thank you, Hannah.
Hi, I am Hannah Burroughs. I am a VM1, so it's my first year. So I just started, got a long ways to go. I'm actually from Iowa, about 45 minutes south of here. And the reason I chose Iowa State is because not only was it the cheapest, but I do love my family and I am closer to home at this school. And I want to do small animal clinical general practice medicine, so companion animals.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. I know you all are busy in your own ways. Each year kind of has its own challenges and its own demands. So I really appreciate you spending time with me and our hopefully future class of 2026. So we have one question here. What is life like in Ames? And maybe I'll ask Maya, do you want to start us off, since I think your experience is probably the most different than back home?
It is a lot different than back home. That was the one thing that one of the reasons why I chose Iowa State is because there is something social to do here. There are places to go. There's a lot of restaurants here. There's a lot of places to go if you want to get a drink with a friend. And if you don't want to drink, there's places here that you can go do karaoke. There's a cool place in downtown Ames that you can go to. That's a lot of fun outside of school when you have time, of course, to do that, because time is of the essence. But I mean, I love Ames and everything that they have to offer. And I'm always surprised with everything that they have to do here.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anybody else want to jump in and say a little bit more about Ames?
So I've lived in Iowa my whole life. I'm from a smaller town in Iowa, and we have always grown up on the saying, it is what you make it. So if you come into Ames thinking, oh, it's so much smaller than my hometown, well, then it's not going to feel like home. So if you come in with an open mind, looking at all the possibilities that you have and what you can do, and how Des Moines is only 30 minutes away or Ankeny is only 30 minutes away, there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do here. And it's not just a tiny town from Iowa.
I like the breweries.
Yeah, those are good.
I feel like an alcoholic saying that, but like, I mean, the breweries here are really good. They have Des Moines are good too, but like Alluvial is just up the street. There's London Underground. I don't think it's technically a brewery, but London Underground's really cool. So they have like cute little things to do around.
Absolutely. Awesome. We've got a question. So we kind of answered part of it, which was what made you choose this school? But I think a little bit different of a question is, what is your favorite thing about Iowa State? So since you've been here, maybe we'll go year 1 all the way to 4. So, and if other people want to join in, they can, but Hannah, if you've got something, you can, otherwise you can volunteer Miranda, since she's there in the room with you.
No, I always talk, so it's fine. I think my favorite thing about Iowa State is all of the opportunities that I have, which sounds really cliche, but I think I've involved myself in probably 8 clubs, and that's a lot, but you can always get involved. There's always something for you to do. If you feel like starting something new, go for it. You just got to find a faculty advisor that'll do it with you, and you've got a new club running, or you've got a new organization. So it's really open-ended, and you can really do what you want. So that's why I like it. Not on the school aspect.
So I'll add to that. What I really love about Ames is how homey it feels. I came from a really small town where I went to high school, and then I went to South Dakota State for my undergrad. And coming here to Ames, it felt literally like home. It felt like Brookings. Ames is bigger than Brookings, but it was just that same feeling of like busy where you want it to be, but also calm when you need it. Because I can't lie, I'm slightly introverted, so I need my alone time sometimes. But also just how open all the staff is, everybody here in Ames, how welcoming they are, with everything that has happened to me in, how long, little over a year and a half that I've been here, I already forget. Just how amazing the staff and all my mentors that I've gained since coming here have just been amazing. It's been probably the best school I could choose from to come to.
Bouncing off of that, I personally had some health issues about a year ago, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to continue with my education as is. I thought I would have to take a year off or more time depending. And my school went above and beyond. Iowa State went above and beyond for me. My professors were incredible. My classmates were incredible. They made sure that I was able to attend every lecture, make sure that I was given extra time or worked with exam schedule. They were very accommodating and very understanding of what I was going through, which I've heard of different things at different schools where they try more so like, no, you're better off just going on leave. And I was like, nope, I don't want to go on leave. And they were like, all right, we'll work with you. We'll do what you want to do. And we'll get you there. And I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah, mine's kind of similar to that. I really enjoy how the upper staff, or the upper professors, I guess, I don't know, the administration, I should say, they really listen. They try to listen and accommodate this whole student body. So it's not just like a you personal thing, but it also reflects on the student body. So, and I was really appreciative of how they handled COVID. Even with COVID, we were still able to do in-person surgeries. So we did surgeries every week. We did I did the surgery elective. So I did, even more surgeries, and they really kept a very close knit, like who's around who, and, what seat are you sitting in, and whatever else. And so it was really, really helpful, because now, like, as in the clinical year, I'm like, oh yeah, I can still do that, because they'll let you do surgeries, like, your spays and neuters and mass removals or whatever. And so, like, I'm like, okay, I've done this before, so I still can do this now. And so, whereas I know a couple of my other friends, like, when COVID hit, they lost that opportunity. So they got to fourth year and they're like, okay, you want to do the neuter? And they're like, I've never done a neuter. And so, I felt like I didn't lose my education, and I felt like even if there were classes that were hard, or hey, I don't like the way that this class is structured, the administration really tries to listen and is like, okay, well, how about we try this, and I just like the way that they just try to listen to you and kind of take like the whole student body's like mental health into everything, because life is stressful. So I'm sorry if my cat jumps on the computer. Like, I'm just gonna put that out there because she's gonna do it.
It's vet med. I don't think anybody cares, right? At some point, my dog will start barking too. So awesome. Well, thank you for all of that. So Miranda, you mentioned mentorship. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit more about kind of getting set up with a faculty mentor, or what that kind of means to you, and then the rest of the folks can jump in with anything that they want to add to.
Yeah. So when you come here, I do know that you were assigned a faculty member that acts like your mentor if you want them to. I can't really elaborate on that because my mentor that I was assigned ended up leaving the school for a different job, and I haven't been reassigned a mentor yet. But since I was interested in poultry research, I had a slight foot in the door that I knew both of the poultry vets on staff. So I just went and talked to them. All the faculty here are very open and welcoming, that you can just walk into their office. If they're there, they're willing to talk. Otherwise, they're very great about setting up a time. And then I just started talking to them. I ended up doing the summer scholar program with them. and did a research project with them. I'm still working on that research project when we have things that come up for it. And through them, I've been able to connect with vets here in the state, outside the state, and just make those connections that I can hopefully use coming up for my 4th year as well.
I can go ahead and add on to that. So when you come in your first year, you will be given a faculty advisor, like Miranda said. It does not have to be within your area of interest. So like I said, I'm small animal interest. My advisor is a pathologist, and she helps me in different ways than I probably could have imagined. It's not just, oh, here are all the small animal things you can do. It's more of like, hey, did you ever think about doing this? Or hey, did you ever talk to so-and-so about this different opportunity? So it doesn't have to be strictly someone in your area of expertise is basically what I'm trying to get at. Keep an open mind.
You also get a upperclassman as a first year. You also get a second year who helps you out. They usually try to reach out to you via email or via text or somehow and try to connect with you and just tell you like, hey, I'm here for you when I can be, when I try to be. Second year is notoriously very hard and very time consuming, as Miranda can probably attest to. So when they have time, or as a first year, if you have questions, you can always reach out to them and they will most likely try their best to help you, if not point you in the right direction to who can help you.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question that we have is, does anyone have any tips or suggestions for being in vet school with a significant other? Does anybody kind of want to jump on that one?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh.
Jess, and then Maya, you can chime in after Jess.
No, she can go first. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Rock, paper, scissors. Go for it.
Okay. So initially when school first started, I'm engaged. I've been with my fiance for almost 9 years. And when when I first got into vet school, we made the decision that he's going to stay in California and I'm going to go off to Iowa and we're going to try to make it work. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard, but you make time for it. Literally, I would pencil into my schedule, like I'm going to FaceTime my fiance on Friday night at 6 p.m. because if I didn't do that, then he would be like, when can I talk to you? When can I see you? And then COVID actually worked out in our favor that he was able to come out here and work from home here. So it worked out in my favor that he's here too. So it's easier for me and better on my stress level and my mental health.
We kind of did something similar. He originally stayed at our home base in DC, and then he was working from home even before COVID. So like he then moved out here just because it was cheaper. And so cat, oh my God. So he's here, and it's nice because the 4th year is crazy. And so it's nice that I get to like, see him when I can and like come home and get my cuddles or something. If you need more specific questions, like he's here, you could just ask him. Like if you are like, hey, what's it like to be an SO of somebody in vet school? He'll probably just tell you like, I never see Jess, like she's always busy. But I think, he's making the best of the situation, because neither one of us are from Iowa. So he's, and we go out to eat a lot. So we do, the foodie thing in the breweries. So there's I'm trying to think like, there are times where we get to like, I don't see him a lot and it makes me sad because, 16-hour days in the clinics is rough. I don't really, because when he moved out, it was COVID. So we were both in the house doing schoolwork and stuff. So it wasn't like I didn't get to see him. So I don't really know how it is now that COVID protocols are not around with significant others. I assume it's kind of the same thing, like you guys are at school most of the day rather than like in your office. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely nice to be like, even just know that he's in the next room, or like, if I go to bed, I'm just like, oh, he'll be bed soon. It makes me happy. So it's definitely something I missed like the first 2 years. So. But there are things to do, and I think like a bunch of the significant others like try to get together and do things themselves. I mean, we haven't because we're more nerds, So like we stay at home and play games. Like that's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you. So next question is about research. What are research experiences like at Iowa State? Does anybody want to tackle that one?
I like
Miranda, since you did so much
apparently I'm the
scholars.
only one that's done research here.
No, what are you talking about?
Maybe not. But so I participated in the summer scholar program last year, and that's a program aimed towards VM1s and VM2s, where they match you with a faculty member or a grad student with a faculty leader that is working on a project, and then you help them over the summer with their project, doing almost whatever they need you to do and whatnot. And then you write up a presentation and you present it at a conference. But there's also constant emails being sent out, like I think every day. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, maybe 10 plus emails that you get daily here. And they're always sending out opportunities like for research projects that grad students, faculty members have coming up for the summer and whatnot, or even research opportunities at different schools and at even different companies that you can participate in and whatnot.
So it depends on your idea of research. There's research you can participate in, and then there's research that like is being done. So like you can, and like that you can like work with. So like I really got involved with before she left the campus AMI lab, because I did a bunch of neuro research at my old job anyway. So I really got involved with that. But there's like beagles here that you can work with. A lot of rodent colonies. They have mice, rats. There's a lot of swine too, also in the vet school. So they do the skid pigs and the nude pigs or whatever they are, and then like some other pigs. So there's research that you can go and be like a part of. So you're like, hey, like, okay, I want to work, and you just seek out the investigator and they're like, hey, do you need help in your lab? And if they have funds, they'll pay you. And then there's research that comes from the undergrad that's like, hey, we're looking for participants of, I don't know, watch this movie for 8 hours and tell me what you think. Or like go run on this treadmill, and then we're going to take the blood levels of like your, I don't know, lipemia or something. I don't know. So there's stuff like that, because I've participated in that, and they'll either pay you in food or money or something like that. And so it kind of just depends on where you want to go with it. I know a bunch of people who just need the free food and the free, money that they give, like the gift cards, and they just go and participate in the research. And it's like, hey, sit there, get your blood drawn. And then there's people like me who are very much like, yeah, I want to be a part of the research. I want to be part of the research team itself. And so I sought out a lab and was like, hey, do you need help? Do you need a volunteer? Can you pay me? Like anything. So it just kind of depends on like what you want your research experience to be.
You can also do a dual master's program. So there's a kid in my class that he is pursuing his DVM, but then he is also getting his master's in nutrition at the same time. So if you find a faculty advisor or a professor that you really get along with, you like what they're doing, you can go ahead and ask them and see if you can get your master's in it as well.
Yeah, and a lot of folks do that master's of public health as well. The MPH DVM is a really popular program, I think, among our students too. So yeah, great. So the next question is, what opportunities are available to work with exotic or wildlife species? Is anybody a member of the Zoo Club? Oh, Miranda.
Me again.
That's awesome.
So Zoo Club is the exotic club on campus. There are several other clubs that qualify more towards the exotic side. There's aquatic animal. Some people consider the poultry club a little more exotic. But so as a member of the club, they have monthly lunch meetings where they bring in speakers from around the country and whatnot. They also, if there's opportunities, whether that be here in Iowa or at different places, they send out emails if they have something coming up for like a possible like internship that you can do over the summer. There's also a couple faculty members that are exotic based that you can work with. One of my classmates, her mentor is one of the exotic vets here at school, and she does work with the Blank Park Zoo. So I think she's helped old. Yeah.
She works with bonobos down in Des Moines as well. The bonobo apes.
So I know my classmate is talked about, I don't know if she's done anything with that yet with her, but it's been in talks. I know she's also done a research project with her.
Lab animal also is essentially all like exotic species, right? Like there's mice, rats, rabbits, guinea pigs, things like that. I think the club is still kind of like getting its feet because of the transition when we went to 4th year. But they do a wet handling lab where they can show you how to take blood or how to go over anesthesia protocols for, the exotic species. Birds are also used. So like we've done anesthesia and, cockatiel. I mean, NC State has a cockatiel like facility. So we've done it for cockatiels, mice, rats, rabbits, all of that, like how to do the handling for them, how to do blood collections. I think we were successful in the ER the other day, putting a catheter in a chinchilla. So, and it's so even not just zoo club, but lab animal too is primarily exotic. So that's always fun to like get involved with like the different clubs. And I know a lot of times they work together. So, and try to do the same experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. So this question I'm going to pose to Hannah first, just because you're closest to the application cycle, being a first year student, but then if you all want to chime in and tell your story, you're welcome to do that too. So this question is, how many times did you apply before getting in? This is giving a little bit of hope to those, to those students who maybe are on the alternate list and trying to figure out what next year holds for them. So
my path is a little different than most. I actually didn't finish my undergraduate degree. I applied one time. I had all my prereqs done. I'm going to give big props to my letters of rec because they are amazing doctors and they love me to pieces. So I got in on my first try. That doesn't mean that I, am too young or anything. I've heard all the sayings, but it took a lot of effort. So don't discount yourself. Even if you don't get in on your first try, I know people that took 5, 6 tries. So it really just depends. Okay, your turn.
Oh, my turn. Oh, sorry. I kind of zoned there for a second. So I also got in on my very first try. I was very lucky. But I was slightly different because this where I came from in school, the kids that I was applying with, some of those kids had thousands of hours of vet experience. They had cemented like working at clinics that they could go back to and whatnot. And I came in just over the requirement of vet hours needed to apply for vet school. But what helped me is that I kept an open mind and I took any opportunity that I had. So I had vet experience in research, I had vet experience in poultry, I had vet experience in large animal. I just left everything open so that when I came here, I was very well-rounded in the eyes of the committee.
I took 3 times to get in. I didn't get in on my first try. I got rejected from everywhere that I applied, and that was devastating. I can still remember that pain to this day. I remember getting my final rejection letter in the mail and bawling my eyes out thinking, that's it. I'm not getting into vet school. My dream of becoming a veterinarian is not going to happen. The second time I applied, I had just finished the 1-year master's here, and I was put on the alternate list. So I was a little bit more hopeful, but still didn't get in. And then the third time I applied, they're probably like, okay, this girl really wants to go to vet school. So, I also took that time in between. My second and third time was the first time in my entire life that I had no school. I was just working and I didn't have class. And that was, at the time, I was really disappointed that I didn't get into vet school, but looking back on it, I was actually very grateful that I was forced into a year off of school because I didn't realize how much I needed it. I didn't realize how tired I was, how mentally drained I was. And I came into vet school a year later and I was recharged and ready to go. And I'm grateful for how it happened. Looking back at it, if I had gotten in my first time, I probably would not have been successful. I might have failed out of a class or two because I was not prepared for these classes or for the caliber that it is to be a vet student.
100% agree with you. I took 13 years to come back to school. So, and I agree with her 100%, like 110%, honestly, because probably I have been very fortunate that every school I've ever applied to, I've gotten into. So I only just had to make the choice of like, which one do I go to? Like, I've never been rejected, so I don't know the feeling, and I know, but I have had friends who have, and it's super devastating, and all I can do is offer like my hugs for you. But I'm glad you're here now. So, but so I don't know, like my story is so different because I transferred, and so like even though it was every school I applied to transfer I got into, it was still kind of like that decision. But I really think one of the reasons that I got accepted to school was because I had so much work experience behind me. Because when I finished undergrad, I was so done with school and I was like, I am not doing this anymore. So I was like, yeah, I'll take a year break and then I'll apply to vet school. And then 13 years later, here I am. So um it's definitely really helpful that and I did experiences like I worked at the Australia Koala Sanctuary, I went to SeaWorld, I did but I still worked in lab animals, so lots of lab animal jobs. I tried working at a vet office just to see what it was like and kind of get that well-rounded picture. And so just to experience and be like, yeah, I tried it, I didn't like GP because of XYZ, but at least I said I could check, yeah, I tried it. So even if you don't get in, like, don't be discouraged, like, and, don't give up. There's always the option. When I went to Ross, my idea wasn't to transfer back. My idea was like, okay, Ross is more holistic because my grades weren't like the best. I probably had maybe a 3.0, and that's combined between two schools because I did a junior college and then a 4-year. So like my grades weren't the best. I didn't have the best self-esteem. So I applied to Ross because they had a more holistic view of a person and were willing to give me a chance. So I'm not saying to do this, but the option of going to an island school and transferring back is always an option. So it just kind of depends on you, you're in your situation. I really wanted to go, and at the time I was like, hey, like I want to be a vet and I want to do it as fast as possible, and so I just applied to Ross. I didn't even apply to the state schools because I was like, like I'm probably not going to get in, I might as well just try for Ross. And then I made a decision while there to transfer back. So and a lot of people do that. I didn't realize how common it was to transfer. It's harder because you have to make sure all the requirements line up, but it's still possible. So if you don't get in here, yeah, you could go work and build up your resume for a whole year, or you can try for one of the three, because I think all the island school do trimesters, or I might be wrong on that. I don't know. I know Ross is trimesters. You could try for one of those and then try coming on back. So, it's kind of up to you. But, just because you don't get in doesn't mean that you're a poor student or a bad person or not good enough. Like everybody deserves to be here and everyone's good enough. So,
Yeah,
keep
thank
going.
you. I think you all have a lot of wisdom too about that. So, I mean, one of the things hearing student stories, I really have become a firm believer in the last 5 years of students end up at vet school when they are meant to be at vet school. So whether that's early, whether that's late, or early, whatever, it seems like Maya was saying, it was the right time to go, to be in vet school. It works out in the end, which sometimes is heartbreaking, especially if you received a letter that said your application was declined or that you're on our alternate list. But essentially those folks on the alternate list, that essentially means that, hey, if we had enough seats, you would be in school. Like you would be in our school, you would be admitted. We just literally don't have enough seats for all of our applicants that would make fantastic veterinarians. So that invitation to our alternate list says just that. It's not a bad judgment or anything like that. It's like, hey, we would love to have you here. We just literally don't have the seats. So one of the kind of follow-up questions that we had was, were any of you guys on the alternate list, which we kind of covered, and what are the chances that someone gets pulled off the alternate list? So our alternate list is pretty much in flux from now until March 15th. After March 15th, you all will know, if you're on our alternate list, you'll know kind of what spot you are on our alternate list. It changes every year how many folks get called off of our alternate list, but that will give you a better idea of kind of where you're at. We've gone to 250 on our alternate list. We've gone to 75 on our alternate list. So it's really hard to tell kind of what those chances are. But yeah, that's what I got for that. So thank you all. That was an awesome question.
There's a girl in my class who went to Ross and was on the alternate list. And she literally left during orientation week at Ross and came here.
Because she got called up, and it will happen. I mean, we have some students who will get called off the alternate list in August, right before orientation starts. Absolutely. So most of the time our class is set by June-ish, but there's always, it kind of happens where, somebody decides they're going somewhere, and then that kind of sets off a chain reaction throughout all of the vet schools. So Maya, I wonder if can you tackle the health insurance question? So if you have health insurance while in vet school, like what did that look like for you?
So when I first started at vet school, I was still on my parents' insurance, and then I turned 26 and I got kicked off. So I had to find out how to get insurance through the school, and I actually found out that there is an insurance through Iowa State. On main campus, there's a health center called Thielen Center that does basically everything that you can think of. There's a actual hospital in Ames called Mary Greeley that if you have an emergency or anything, you can go there. And the insurance that the school offers, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the cheapest, but it does cover a lot. Anything that you can think of, it does get covered. And I mean, it's helped me substantially, especially in the last year and a half. Like I mentioned, I had health issues last year, and they were amazing. They are quick to answer any questions you have. If you are unable to pay, they understand that you are a student. They will work with you on a payment plan. And I know that there are other insurance options, but I personally go through the insurance through the school that they offer. But if you go through on like Iowa State's website, they have a health or Thielen Center option that you can look up, and it gives you all the information there as well.
I also go through the school. It is, so if you get all of your primary care through Thielen, everything is covered. If you choose not to go through Thielen, which I don't know why you wouldn't, or for me, like I'm having my own personal surgery in April. So that has to go through Mary Greenlee. There's a $500 deductible. And then once that's reached, they cover 80%. So then it's split between 80-20, just kind of a normal insurance plan. So, but yeah, you are responsible if you go out of network, which is Thielen, then you're responsible for $500 for your deductible. And then the insurance covers 80% after that.
Also, if you do go, like if you're not from Iowa and you go home or you go to another state, if you have something that does happen or you do need to see a medical provider, you can work with the insurance through the school and tell them like I went home during COVID, and I told them like, if I need to go to a doctor in California, like what do I do? And they gave me all the information that I could need, doctors that accept my insurance, so that I'm not sitting there trying to pay a fortune to go get medications refilled.
Yeah, I think it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think, is who's through the school. So
that's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so next question is, what does a normal day look like for each of you? So maybe what did today look like? Random Wednesday, right? So what did today look like? Hannah, you want to start us off and we'll just go straight up through the years?
All right, so your standard VM1 Wednesday for us this morning was a little different. So usually you have your exam block from 8 to 9, meaning that is when your exams will be scheduled. So we didn't have an exam today, so I got to sleep in. Starting at 9 o'clock though, I am supposed to have neuro. My professor has COVID, so that's online. But we all actually came into lecture and we put her lecture up on the big screen, and it was just like she was there. Her assistant was monitoring the computer, and we went out business as usual. And then after neuro was done, you get a 10-minute break. Dr. Brown likes to tell us to go for a 5-minute walk every 10-minute break that we have. It's good for your health. And so then we had endocrine physiology. Dr. Braca likes to tell us about his cats. He loves his cats.
His cats are awesome.
Lucy and Helix are adorable. And then after endocrine physiology, then we had immunology. Don't know what happened in that class, but immunology is not my strong suit. But the professors make the lectures super fun, interactive. Dr. Brown likes to bring candy, the same one that tells you to go for a walk during your 10-minute break. She brought us candy, and then it's 12 to 1. You have your lunch break. And then after lunch on a Wednesday is when we have our pathology lab, and that is broken up into 3 sections. I am in the 3rd section, meaning I had a break from 12 to 3. And then I went to Path Lab from 3 to 4, and then I had my club meetings after that. So that was my Wednesday, and now I'm here. So yeah, it's a lot.
Side note on Dr. Brown, she also has a candy jar that she leaves outside her classroom, and it is the best thing if you are just feeling a little down to go find the candy jar, and then if Dr. Brown's in her office to have a live chat. She's probably the thing that makes your day better.
She's always got the good candy too.
Yeah, she does. As for my day, we literally chose the worst day because this is my easiest day. I did have an exam this morning, so that was a little bit of a downer. But I had my exam, and then with the exam, it was a class that I was supposed to have first off this morning at 9, so I didn't have that class. And then I had one more class that had an online option to watch, so I laid in bed and did that, and then I didn't have anything else today, so I took a nap and then did a little bit of homework and came to club meetings. This is literally like my easiest day of the week.
I'll trade
Thursday.
Didn't Maya say that second year was the hardest or something?
Yes, Wednesdays, however, this semester are my easiest. If we would have done this tomorrow, I would have been here. I have class literally from 8 to 5.
Yeah, same.
So Wednesdays make up for it.
I've
Got
got
it.
5 and over the noon hour.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I ate orange in class. Yeah.
Yeah, my Mondays, I'm in class from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., including over the lunch hour. Iowa State tries really hard for your core classes to not schedule anything over the lunch hour so that every student has that 1 hour from 12 to 1:10, or technically 11:50 to 1:10, not to go to class. You can go have an hour to leave school, go get food, come back, or warm up your food. We have microwaves and everything here. We have a cafe here. You can get food here, but no one has class unless you just have an elective, in which case most of those happen over the lunch hour. But other than that, my Wednesdays, so I have a surgery elective, which is on Wednesdays starting at 7 a.m. We are required to be there by 6:45. So I was up in Adams this morning at 5:45. Got to school, had my surgery elective, went great. Class is scheduled from 7 a.m. to noon, but we were out at 10. If you're not in the elective, then your Wednesday mornings are essentially free. So half my class is not doing anything Wednesday mornings, or they're being productive or sleeping or doing whatever they want to do. And then we have class from 1 to 3. And then I took the time this semester to work in the library. So I worked from 3 to 5, and now I'm here.
Yay! Gosh, I wish I was back there. I'm on anesthesia rotation right now. 4th year is very variable. It depends on the rotation you're on, but most of them you will be up at 5:30, 5 in the morning, most likely 4:30 or 5, checking transfer lists to make sure that you don't have any transfers coming in. And then you have already prepped the night before for your appointments, and so you do that. So anesthesia, what I did is I woke up today at like 6. I was out the door by 6:30 because you have to have all of your anesthesia all set up by like 7:30ish. So we were all in there setting up, went pre-medded my animal, brought them back down, did the procedures. And then, yeah, you basically just help everybody else when your cases are done, or prep for the next ones tomorrow. So I have anesthesia on a cow and a horse tomorrow. So I had to create the protocols for that. Then you go and talk to the clinicians. And so that was like 3 hours long, and it was amazing. Because they teach you a lot. The clinicians teach you a lot. The day will depend on whether or not they can round you on a topic. Today we did not get to round. Most of us were like, it is 5:30. We are done. So, so yeah. So once everything's done, we could come here. But basically, I just did my anesthesia cases, and you're responsible for the pre-med, the pre-exam, the Serenia injection, the monitoring throughout the entire procedure, recovery afterwards, and then because once they're recovered and up to temperature, the service that they're on takes over their care. So then you can go and work on the next protocol. But for example, like we had an emergency case come in, so I was jumped onto that one. So it wasn't really my case, but it became my case. And then after that, I had to go do the protocols for tomorrow. So, and then I get to do it all again tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome.
See, Maya, only a few more months and you'll be on there too.
Oh yeah. Anesthesia is really in flux. Like literally you will work for an hour and a half on a protocol, and they're like, just kidding, we're going to push that to like 3 days from now, and you need to work on this one instead. And you're like, okay, we'll get right on that.
Gotta know how to be flexible, right?
Oh yeah. It's early days.
All about.
You're responsible for your 8s and 8s. So most of the time with your patient care, a lot of people come in at 6:30 and they start their 8s, and they're done by like 9:30 at night. They're like, it can be pretty long. So.
Yeah. Question here about the required computer. And Jess, since you've been living with your computer for the longest, you can kind of maybe tell us a little bit about it. But the question is, what is your experience with the required computer? Why is it required, and do you use that as your primary computer, or do you use a personal one? I'm also, the why is it required is answered on our IT page, so I'm also going to put that link in the chat for you if you want to learn more about the model and all of that kind of stuff. But Jess, if you want to start us off, and then whoever else wants to kind of jump in on their computer or on their computer opinion, you're welcome to do that too. So
I don't like it, but that's just me. I'm also a computer nerd, so my desktop here is like super gaming, so I'm much more used to that kind of thing. I, as a work computer, like to be like, yes, for notes and stuff like that, it works just fine. The reason it's so expensive is because they put the programs on it to be on the network for the school. So I cannot access journals or anything like that with my home computer, but I can on this one because it's tied to the network. I do use it as my primary one while at school. There are times where I'll come home and work on case summaries or something like that, just because it's faster for me to be on the dual computer screens and just like do it at home. But I've had no real issues. You can split screen the tiny one, and that helps. But I do use it as my primary one. I do have a laptop. I don't think I've opened the laptop since I've moved here. It was required for like to have a personal laptop at Ross, because Ross made you buy the iPads. And I've talked to IT about the iPads, and a girl in my class is actually our RT rep. And so they've been talking about switching over to the iPad Pro. The problem of why they don't do it is because some of the programs that the professors use work much better on a PC. And so until they can figure out the knickknacks with a Mac, that's why they require the PC. And the price is also because we have 24/7 computer care or computer techs or something, so you can always log on. And I've done it multiple times where I've like been like, hey, I need somebody now, and they'll log into your computer and fix whatever you need to fix. But I don't.
We also take a lot of our exams on these computers. We use a program called Lockdown Browser, which basically shuts down your ability to access other websites or programs or notes while you're in the middle of an exam. And I found out the hard way that if you use 2 fingers or 3 fingers to scroll, Lockdown will think that you are trying to cheat or exit, so it will submit your exam for you. And that was in the middle of a final when I was like, oh God, I'm nowhere near done. And IT had a spare computer for me. So they gave me that one. And like while they were figuring out what's going on with my computer. If you have an exam and your computer decides, hey, now's a great time to restart and let's update. And you're just like, no, I don't have time for you to update. IT has another computer that you can use. And because it's the same computer that we're used to, you're not going to sit there and be like, where's the start button? How do I use this thing? It's the exact same one that you are using in class, which has saved me multiple times, unfortunately.
On the actual computer aspect and daily life and everything, I personally love my computer, but I am not tech savvy like Jess here. I really like the computers that we have because you can flip it into a tablet and you can write on it. And I'm a very write on hands whiteboard type of person. So I can easily just write on my computer, erase it, write it again and erase it, rather than buying a bunch of expo markers and writing all over the whiteboards and then having to buy more expo markers or writing pen and paper and all that stuff. And you can also, all of it is like saved on OneNote. A lot of people like to use OneNote here. I don't know if you do, but I love OneNote. And since it's on OneNote, I can pick it up on my iPad. I can pick it up on my computer at home. That's not even my computer. I can pick it up on my parents' computer. So yeah, I personally really like the computers. I haven't had a problem with it though. Mine's pretty nice to me. Mine's pretty nice to me.
I hope it remains nice. I really do. I just don't like it.
I hope it likes me.
But IT is, adding on that, IT is really good if your computer does have an issue. Over break, my sister's new dog decided to eat my charger. And IT was really great about when I got back, went in and they were like, they gave me a loaner, they filled out a form for me to get a new charger, comped so I didn't have to pay for it. I also have a classmate that just recently his cat spilled an entire water bottle on his computer. And the next day IT fixed it. I mean, he explained it didn't make any sense to me, but by that afternoon he had his computer back fixed and everything was fine. And since everything is backed up on the system, since the computer is connected to the system, you can log into a loaner computer and everything that you have will be there. So it's not like you have to re-add everything that you had from your computer to a different one.
You can also log on to the big computers that are in these conference rooms like we're doing right now. So.
Seems like it's a mental wellness sort of benefit there too. So great, thank you. So this next question is, would you say that Iowa State students are more collaborative or do people tend to work on their own?
I have had both type of situations. In the first semester, everybody's trying to figure out who their friends are, who they studied with, how they study best. So I've had both ends of the spectrums. I've had one friend who is no longer, we're acquaintances, because the way she studied and handled her personal business did not go with the way that I did. So we separated paths. She was very, very competitive, whereas I'm more of a, let's do it together, please. And teach me what you know and I'll teach you what I know. So it's all really about finding out your best study path and who you work with. I would say overall my class is pretty collaborative. We do like to work together. There are a couple of type A people, but you're always going to have type A people. You can't like not have it. But I would say Iowa State's pretty collaborative. Even the VM2s, hi Miranda, they are wonderful tutors, TAs, they're always willing to help. My VM2 that I was given at the very beginning as my mentor, her and I still talk to this day. We're in the same elective and we go out and we do things together. So I would say it's pretty collaborative, but that's just my experience. Thank you.
My turn. I will agree that my class is really collaborative. It's just, I know undergrad is a very competitive because you want those good grades, you want to be able to have the good grades to get into vet school, but it's something that they put a lot of emphasis on when you get here is to let that go because we're all on the same page. We're all just trying to get through, learn what we need to eventually pass the boards and become a vet. So they try to make a big emphasis on working together. It was a little strange for my year because I was the COVID year, or part of the COVID year. I can't say I wasn't the only one. But when I started, they put us in small groups of like 4 to 5 students. And that was who you were supposed to work with, like both in school and out of school, to just mitigate the risk of COVID exposure. So I spent a lot of time with roughly 5 kids in my class. I'm still working on learning everybody in my class because of COVID. But since we've come back in person this year, I've expanded who I work with and whatnot. I still hang with a lot of with majority of the kids that I was assigned my first semester. But it's great to be able to expand and see other kids in my class, see how they study, how it works to work with them, and just adapting so that I can pick up things that they do that I don't do. They can pick up things that I do that they haven't done. It just ends up working out pretty well.
I was going to say, I think it varies from who you are as a person to who you hang out with to your class as a whole. My class, we are very good about when there's an exam coming out. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I make PowerPoints. That's how I study. I send them out to the class, and I've been told they're very useful. Other people send out PowerPoints. People send out their notes. People do work together and study, but I'm one of those people that I like to study by myself, because if I'm in a group, I will just chit chat away and we will not get nothing done, because we will talk about everything except for what we are supposed to be studying. So, but if I'm struggling, I don't have a problem reaching out to one of my classmates or posting on our class Facebook page and being like, hey, I don't understand radiology. Can someone please help me? And everyone surprised. I mean, what you're struggling with, you're not the only one. And I mean, that's a kind of a big pill to swallow, because in undergrad, like Miranda said, you are trying to be a top dog. You don't want to admit that things are hard for you. Whereas here, what you're struggling with, granted, everyone is probably struggling with. So when one person's like, I need help, everyone's like, oh, me too, me too, me too. Please help me too. So it's a learning curve. You eventually learn to get out of the I'm better than everyone. I'm really good at what I do, and to I know nothing and I need help.
That was me in immunology this morning.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Ours is the same. Ours is the same. We had the study nerds, is what they called them. So they would pick a topic or pick a subject, and they'd send out, study guides before exams and notes and talks. I think they did charts. I don't study with people. I like to draw things out. So I have a whole desk, the glass desk that I draw all over. And that's how I learn. And then I can go and teach people. I do a lot of tutoring through the school. So I tutor anatomy, I tutor anesthesia, and apparently now radiology.
I will reach out to you.
I learned that today, that I am now the tutor for radiology. I was like, oh, okay, well, send them my way. I really love being involved with the school. So yeah, I don't know. I guess they're like collaborative. I've heard of something called Midwest Nice. I guess that's Midwest Nice.
That's awesome, thank you. So I think on the registration, it was our session was from 6 to 7, but if folks want to stick around for a little while, I think I told you all 7:30 so that I could, keep you here for a little longer.
You can keep me as long as you like. My protocols are done for tomorrow. You're good.
Okay. So I think that there's just a couple more kind of topics that I think would be good, to kind of talk out for students. And then we'll end with a little piece of advice for first year students. So you can start thinking about that. And then if you see other questions that we maybe don't have a chance to get to, you can type in some answers too. But we have a question. What is your favorite memory from vet school? So far, what's your favorite memory? And maybe we will start with Hannah, because she has fewer memories to kind of file through. Jess is sitting there like there are so many.
I know. Like,
mine all seem to go back to anatomy. One of them, yeah, of course. So my friends and I have this thing, we're nerds, and my favorite nerve is the thoracodorsal nerve, because it reminds me of a dinosaur. So we all got dinosaur ornaments for Christmas. Yeah. But I also like to name all of my animals. So I currently have 3 goats right now. I have Gladys, Matilda, and Mavis. But yeah, my thoracodorsal nerve is probably, and getting that Christmas present is probably my favorite. Yeah, not a lot of memories, guys.
That's awesome. I like it. So we don't have to go in order. If somebody else has something that they want to jump in with, you can just kind of shout it out.
I think one of my favorite memories was actually made not too long ago. I think maybe that's because I can't remember things from long ago. But I recently, so I, on a personal note, really like punk rock, like that's the type of music that I like, and hard rock and things like that. And I found that there's a thing in Des Moines called Emo Night, where just a DJ playing a bunch of really popular punk rock songs, and it was a lot of fun. And turns out a lot of people in my class like that kind of music too. And we all went to Des Moines, all had a good time together. And I mean, that's outside of vet school, but that's one of my favorite vet school memories, because it's people that I met in vet school and became a lot closer to over something that I didn't know that we could have bonded over. I'm like, where have you been the last 2 years? And they've been like, here.
I can't think of a specific. You go, Jess.
Oh no, I heard a pause and I was like, shoot, did they all 3 go? I can't remember.
No,
Did
I
you
haven't
go?
gone, but
if you haven't gone, go.
Okay. I don't have a specific favorite memory. I have a couple. Second year, you get a lot of one-liners in class. So just hearing those and getting through the semester is probably really great. Another one is this also might make me look like a little bit of an alcoholic. The amount of times I've gone drinking with my professors since I started school here. And then this is a little bit of dark humor. Giving Dr. Rowan all them heart attacks in the anatomy lab when you're on crutches and you hit a little thing of formaldehyde, just watching the little mini heart attacks that cross their face when the crutch slipped. That probably got me through large animal.
Let's see. I mean, I have a lot, obviously, like when you're like, oh, I transferred, yay, I get to come back home. Probably my favorite one is, so I took ICU early. I wasn't the first wave of ICU for clinical year, but my first ever ICU case it turned out to be ivermectin toxicity, because this dog got compounded special formula of ivermectin, and they miscalculated it. So my favorite memory probably really is the fact that that was the first case where I felt I was actually doing a doctor job, like, and actually getting there, because a lot of times you're like, oh, well, like, what would you do? And that I promise you, when you guys get to the 4th year, this is what you're going to ask. You'll be like, so would you then want to do this? Would you then want to do that? And a lot of time, and like my clinician, it was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to, and I was very like, I'm still unconfident, but like, it was the first case came in, and it was a 12-year-old Shih Tzu who had sudden neurologic, had fought lymphoma 4 times, successful through Iowa State and chemo. So like the differentials for neoplasia were super high, but I was the one that was like, hey, like, he had a compounded ivermectin medicine. He took it an hour and a half before he came here. Like, can we explore this? And because of that, they were like, yeah, let's do it. And the toxicity report came back, and it was like astronomical. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm going somewhere. Woo. So that was probably one of my favorite memories.
That's awesome. Like, it's all paying off now, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, I was like, maybe there are times where I'm like, I feel like maybe I do know something. Woo! It gets there. And then Natalie came out, and I was like, maybe I do know things. Oh my
God. Okay, so last topic that we can tackle, I think, tonight is housing. So this question says, how difficult is it to find housing?
It is not difficult. Not at all. There are apartments galore because not only do you have the vet school, but you also have the undergraduate campus. So apartments will try to sell you their apartment like the first day you find out you got into Iowa State. There are different group chats that you can join on Facebook, like Facebook groups and stuff. There's the CVM page, the Iowa State University page, where there's also where people try to sublease their apartments or their house or townhomes. But there's also the trailer park, where we call it Trailerhead. That's where I live. They are very old trailers that students like to sell because you can walk to campus. It's usually between a 5 to 10 minute walk, if that.
If you live on the far side, it might be 10 minutes.
Yeah, if you live in the creek side, it's probably 10 minutes. But my dad and I, we went in and bought a trailer. We revamped it. It's now my little oasis. And my neighbors are also VM1s, and they're my best friends. A majority of the vet students, at least I think, live in the trailer park. And we all just kind of walk to class together, so.
Yeah, I'd say roughly at least half the school lives in the trailer park. Not everybody does. You're not required to live there. Wherever you find housing that you want to live in, you can. I have some friends that are like, no, thank you. I don't want to live in a trailer. So they live in an apartment, but there's plenty of apartments all across Ames. You don't even have to live in Ames. I know kids who live in neighboring towns like Nevada. There's several people that live there. I think some people might, I don't know anybody who lives in Ankeny myself, but.
And if you're looking for an apartment and you have a budget, they have literally apartments that can fit every single type of budget that you have. You don't have to get, like, if you want to live by yourself, they have like super nice apartments that are a little bit more expensive, and they have cheaper apartments that may be a little bit smaller, but get what you need from it. You have somewhere to sleep, you have water, you have heat, you have food, or you don't have food, but you have a fridge to put your food in. But you have plenty of options. I personally live over in West Ames, so I live in apartment complex over there called Mortensen Heights, and a lot of veterinary students live there. One of my best friends lives in the building next door to me, and we both found out by chance that we live there first year when I saw her in my rearview mirror driving to school, and I'm like, why is this person following me? And then she parked next to me at school. I'm like, oh, you live next to me, okay.
That's fantastic.
Apartment. I mean, it's pretty easy, just like they said.
If you're also worried about like transportation to and from school from where you live, like walking distance may appeal your eye to the trailer park, but Ames also has a busing system that has bus stops usually outside of each apartment complex or within a few feet of walking that will take you to and from the school for free.
Don't let weather stop you from using the buses. Iowa State has a very firm rule that classes are in session as long as SciRide is going.
Yes.
So if you are afraid to drive, I'm from LA, I don't deal with snow. I'm scared to drive in snow. So if my friends can't give me a ride, then I will take the bus because they're not afraid. They will go in the snow. But they're very good drivers and they're very safe about it.
Yes, they have a lot of training.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So I did put the housing website on like our housing website in the chat. That does get updated. You can see like homes for sale and stuff. So vet students will send in their information and list homes and apartments and all of that kind of stuff there too. So that's a really good resource for you all. Also, we'll have a couple of preview days on March 26th and April 9th. And we typically do kind of a virtual parade of homes then too. So you'll get a listing of all of the, if you're an admitted or an alternate student, you'll get a listing of all of those houses and apartments and all of that. And you can kind of check them out. You can contact the people and maybe even show or kind of schedule a showing or a viewing if they're in town and you're available and all of that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that. So we're kind of wrapping up here. Jess, thank you for typing out answers to those remaining questions. So those are under the answered tab. So you all can go through those if you'd like to. But now it's on to a little bit of first year advice. So what would you want to have known maybe your first year, or what do you think really helped you in your first year? So does anybody have it they want to go first?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. You're not the only one struggling. Your friends that may seem like they have it together probably don't. They're just really good at making it seem like they do. But don't be afraid to ask for help is probably the biggest advice. Don't be afraid to offer help. If you see someone in your class struggling, and some people you can physically see that they are struggling, don't be afraid to offer help. They will most likely very much appreciate it.
When a professor asks a question in class, give an answer, don't just sit in silence. Even if you are wrong, it's better to learn from your mistakes than thinking you had the right answer all along and it comes to the exam and boom, you were wrong. So speak up.
Kind of tying into a little bit of what Mia said, or Maya, probably saying
Maya.
Maya, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like find your group of people, whether that is like the people you hang out with, you study with, whether that's people from back home that can help you get through it. Might even be professors. Don't be afraid to talk to them. Some of them might look a little scary, but they will not bite, I promise. I probably would not have gotten through first year with everything that happened to me had I not reached out to professors, to the faculty, to OASA, and leaned on my friends and my family.
We also have a therapist at the school, and she is a godsend. So if you ever need to talk to somebody, whether that's not a professor or friend or somebody you can't talk to, she is always there. There's always somebody for you to talk to.
Mine is more tough love, but it's probably my age. I'm going to be real honest. It's probably my age. First of all, have a good attitude. Always have a good attitude, no matter what, because the professors see that and they take note of it. And I promise you, in clinics, 90% of your grade is your attitude. So if you come in and you're like, hey, I want to learn, I'm going to I effed up all the time. Like I overdosed my patient on gabapentin. I did it at the wrong time and the wrong dose. Like, and you're like, hey, I still have a good attitude about it. I'm not going to beat myself up. Don't come into the class thinking like, you might have been first in your class in undergrad, but I promise you there's somebody here that's smarter than you, and they're probably going to do better than you. And that's fine. And it's okay to get C's, or whatever it is. What is it? C's and degrees or something like that? Like the saying?
Degrees.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's okay to not have A's. You will still get that residency, and you will still make your connections here, and things like that. So, but I would absolutely not come into it and be like, oh, I was number one in my class and I'm so smart and all these peons and da-da-da. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would not come in with that attitude, because you're not going to make any friends, and I need friends. So, we all need friends. And like they said, the girls here have amazing, pieces of advice. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, and I fully support them. But mine's more of like tough love. Like, don't come in here and think that you're like top nugget or whatever.
Just bouncing off of that, you're probably going to fail an exam. It's gonna happen. It's not a fun feeling, but it's gonna happen. You will probably fail an exam. And if you are that person that had never reached out and had been, I'm the best, I'm better than everyone, then people are gonna be like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't help you. I don't want to help you.
I think that is fantastic, fantastic advice from all of you. Thank you so much. I always learned so much from you all. It's great. I love it. If you want a little bit more advice, the faculty members on our faculty panel answered that same exact question, and they had some really, really good advice that kind of just applies to life in general, not just vet school. And I think you all did the same thing. You can apply that, to life in general, not just vet school. Hannah, did you did you have a last
Yes,
thing?
I have another one.
Okay.
I have another one. Spend your summer fun. Don't come in trying to study beforehand. Do not. I did. Bad idea. Basically, if you teach yourself wrong, that's so much harder to unlearn it and try to relearn it the right way. Have fun because you're not going to have any free time left. So spend your summer, have fun.
You
Okay,
might also
that's it.
burn out a
Yep,
little faster if you do that.
Yep.
I watched one of the kids in my class burn out. His burnout was him jumping off a cliff more or less this past semester because he tried so hard to learn everything before it was taught and it overwhelmed him.
Yep. Take breaks and have fun.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you all for being here and spending time, both this current students and lending your expertise and your wisdom. That's wonderful. I really, really appreciate it. For those of you who tuned in, thank you so much for being here.